I want to weigh in on this. Can my husband pay the mortgage trend or whatever? Actually, I'm very confused by some of it. Maybe I'm not getting something here. I do think that in general, men should be paying a ton. Blah, blah, blah. Y'all know how I stand on this. But what I find a little disturbing is that given everything that I say, and anybody who is new here, you know, I talk all the time about marriage benefits. Men mostly, in most marriages, that, you know, all these men who are obsessed with 50-50, what do you bring to the table, blah, like whatever. By the way, I'm at a train station. I'm on my way to Paris to go get my family who flew across the ocean to come visit me. Anyway, this train cost $20 to go to Paris from Lyon. Anyway, I think I don't want women to get obsessed with the idea that a man has to make more money than you. I don't. Do we also, like, in these conversations, are we forgetting that when we place, like, we have to be careful not to reinforce what we've had for a long time, which is that men are providers. Now we know that men provide mostly in most cases, those who will not unpack patriarchy and let go of their entitlement and all this crap and deal with their trauma and whatever else is blocking them. That being besides providers of nothing but stress and trauma and other things, being providers of money is something we're trying to get away from. Not that they shouldn't provide money, because I also have had financial abuse from a hobosexual that almost took my life, blah, blah, blah. I've told that story too many times. Most of the women that I know are like badass and work really hard and are super smart and motivated and are super independent and take care of themselves and have not focused entirely on men and dating, and so they tend to be doing a lot better, you know, are more successful, and, you know, as artists, as actors, as comedians, whatever, and so they don't really need men. So what do you think the chances are that they might actually have better jobs than some men? Now, I am not ever encouraging anybody. I hope that's not my train. I don't know why it's still there. That's not my train. Anyway, I'm going to get carried away to miss my train. I don't ever want anybody to get trapped in a Steve and Miranda situation where a lawyer dates down, blah, blah, blah. I do not like the idea of us encouraging women to date down, date bums, date hobosexuals. I also want to leave room for us to not fall into this men have to make way more money than you, and also devaluing the very things that we've been asking men to value more, which is emotional labor, domestic labor, all this other stuff, right? What I mean by that is that I notice that the way that patriarchy plays out in my mind, because I'm more of like the dude in my relationship. I've always been more the dude in my relationship. I'm more emotionally cut off, less emotionally vulnerable, and less emotionally intelligent, to be honest. Not as good at communication. Toxically masculine feminist, for lack of a better word. I've written about it for Outside Magazine if you want to read that. Like, the wages in France are crazy low. That's because of so many things are provided by the state. So in no world am I probably ever going to make less than my husband. But he is the cook, he's the cleaner, he's the emotionally intelligent one, he's the one who provides all of this stuff that I personally devalue on a regular basis. I'm gonna go check my train just in case that's it. It doesn't look like it's it. Maybe it is. Oh my God, y'all, I almost missed my train. I had to run because I was at the wrong track. I'm in Paris now. Okay, sorry. That was a crazy day. I totally did almost miss the train. I had to sprint. Why I thought it'd be, I was so bored. I was like, I'll make a TikTok, and then I almost missed the train. Anyway, the point is, y'all, look at this. Teeny tiny bed. I just want to make sure that while trying to make sure that women aren't getting screwed by hobosexuals and aren't doing so much labor and having to come home, and then also, like, we know that it is a big problem for all these 50-50 men who blah, 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 blah. Like, that is a conversation I talk about all the time. But I also want to make sure that when we talk about this, that we also don't make it so that men can never be anything but financially providing entirely, or like way more than us. Because A, that's not really realistic in general for a lot of women. But even more importantly, it devalues what we do, right? So there are very few men who can actually be okay with a woman making more money, because so many men are super insecure. So many men don't want to work and are totally fine with women doing everything. And because of their little fragile egos, They feel threatened by women who are more successful. And so they either sabotage our careers or they just like let us do everything and they do nothing. So I'm not talking about those men. I'm not talking about those men. But what I also want to make sure that we don't do is make it seem as if it is not an option to also date or marry a man who makes less money than you if he is making your life better in all these other ways. So what do I mean by that? So one of my friends, she makes, I don't know, probably twice as much as her husband. Her job is actually a lot of my friends are the breadwinners. And their husbands, because they're confident, because they've been unpacking patriarchy, and because they love the crap out of their wives, they do all this other stuff to make up for the fact that they don't bring in as much money. And they like adore her. So my one friend, they have 2 kids. She makes probably twice as much. So he became the stay-at-home dad. Now, do some stay-at-home dads actually do nothing and suck at it? Absolutely. But we also need to like make it okay for some men to not bring in as much money, but they understand the value of the labor that we have been trying to get men to value for a long time. You know what I mean? And I remember this friend of mine, he was, he understood it, but he was frustrated that so few people are used to him being the person who does all of the school drop-offs, goes to the, mommy and me stuff or whatever. He was like the one dude with all moms and everything. And I mean, with time, more men would join in. But we got to make sure we're not devaluing the things that women do by making it so that like men have to just like bring in all this money and that can't provide anything else. Do you know what I mean? That we are devaluing what we bring by assuming men can't do that and that they are going to suck at it. A lot of them do suck at it, and many of them don't want to do it or they are just terrible at it. But there's also a learning curve. So that's this one friend, yeah, she has the most stable job, and so she is the primary breadwinner, and he is the one who stays home and does all of the other stuff. Now he does work like part-time doing other stuff, but he knows that her income is super important. I have another friend who is a literal conductor, travels the world as a conductor, and her husband is a teacher, a part-time teacher. He works 2 days a week. He is the stay-at-home dad. I have another friend. They follow her job. They just moved back to Italy because her job. She has a better job, so her job is centered. But he's the cook. He's the nurturer of the relationship. And that's the same thing. Like, I live in France. I work for, whatever, these American companies or whatever. The wages here are crazy low. So the likelihood of my husband ever making more money than me, even though I'm an artist, which is crazy. Even though the industry and these apps hardly pay, they still pay better than I would make trying to work here because I couldn't do this job here. But you know what I mean? It is normal for people to make $1,400 a month. That's normal. That's normal, and with high rent. But healthcare is, we have universal healthcare. We have all these other benefits. Blah blah blah. But like the wages in Europe are just way lower, like by half or a third, or a fourth, or like less. So I could rattle off so many examples. Most of the women I know make more money than their partners or make the same. And that's because they're baddies. And they have been, they didn't center dating in men and stuff. They worked on their career. And it's not that they have a Steve and Miranda situation. Because, see, the thing is that Steve made way less money, but he was also a bum. He also made her feel like crap. He also made her insecure. And I want to do it again because that man is literally one of the biggest villains in all of history. So do not get me confused. Do not say that literally Steve is the worst example of what can happen to you when you date down. But also don't assume that dating down just means financially, because you can date down and a man who doesn't want to work. You can date up, but you're actually dating down because of his mindset. If you can be with a man who makes less money than you, and this is the important part, he values emotional labor, domestic labor, understands the mental load as equal. It sees himself as a teammate and a partner, and his goal is to make your life easier. Because if they're not making your life easier, they are making it harder. You know what I mean? So I just want to be careful in this conversation, because some of these, but like, even like, I know some women who, just, were stay-at-home moms and then started making content, and now they make more than their husband. So like, what do we do with that? You know what I mean? So I just want us to not focus so much on money, because to me, it is not about money. That is like our old mindset, this capitalist mindset that only these things are valuable. For example, so I have been working a lot. My husband works too. He worked a long day yesterday. Actually, he worked like a crazy long day yesterday, but he also knew that I was prepping for this trip. I was trying to make a content so that I could take some days off. He not only washed all my clothes, hung up all my clothes, and was just like asking me what else he could do to help. Out of it, I was like, you can't help, because I need to figure some of this out myself. And then when I went downstairs this morning, he had charged my headphones. What is it? Don't forget this, baby. Your protectors against, sorry, it's hard for me to read it because I'm so far away. Sound aggressor. So he knows that I am very sensitive to noise now all of a sudden. That is something new to me. I don't know if it's the ADHD. I don't know if it's perimenopause. I don't know if it's because of all the PTSD that I've gone through in the last couple of years. But I literally had a panic attack on the train from Luxembourg, where I'd done like a comedy festival, on the train ride home, because the man next to me was eating a baguette, and the paper was so loud and everything was so loud, and I just started to panic. And that, like, smells and noises are like make me lose it sometimes. This is new, y'all. I lived in a truck for 5 years. I literally backpacked around South America and slept on, like, I used to be the easiest travel, and now I am like, have become a very high maintenance traveler for some reason. And I'm like, I don't know, probably the EMDR made it so that I'm not just, like a frozen whatever. So I feel things. I'm just more sensitive than I've ever been. So he had little notes all over. I found this one too. Take your favorite snack. Like banana. I love bananas. I eat them literally every day. Too many. Like, he is way more thoughtful than me. He's a way better communicator than I. He came from a very loving family that made it so easy for him to love me. Whereas I am constantly snooping around looking for clues that he is secretly, a serial unaliver or something. Like, I am constantly looking, this is my hypervigilance and trauma, blah, 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 whatever. This man, it's like his number one job is to love me, and his other job is going to work. You know what I mean? So the reason why I think this is important is not only does it devalue these other forms of labor that we're literally trying to get men to value. That's why fair play, emotional labor, all these amazing books are like trying to get men to value what we've been doing for free for a long time. But I also don't want women to get in this mindset that, like, it does work out sometime when a man takes care of it. But this idea that financially that's his number one thing. It's way too much emphasis on finance, and maybe less on how much you should be making money to have your own bag. Make sure that you can get out. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's something about this conversation that's really disturbing me. It almost seems a little too trad wife-ish. It's a very nuanced conversation. By no means saying to, like, please don't date down in general. But also, don't think that just because a man make less money than you, that he can't love the crap out of you. Is it very hard to come across men who are not, like, so threatened by women who make more money than them and who are better than them at so many things? Yeah, it is hard. It is hard. So please be on the lookout for all of these hobosexual Steves out there who are going to ruin your life. But please don't go too far the other way and saying that, like, that, and devaluing the very things that we want men to start doing more of themselves, and wanting them to value more. Please, like, let's be careful with this conversation, because I personally am more of the dude in my relationship. I wrote an article about it for Glamour, and I've written about it several times in articles. I have always been. I wrote one for the Washington Post too. I don't know if it's because I'm just a tomboy, or because it's just trauma response, or if it's like, I don't know what it is. But the only men that I have ever been able to have healthy relationships with are the ones that are more nurturing, more caring, more like motherly, or whatever the word is. I don't even like that word, but who bring that emotional stuff. Because I have always been the dude. Work, I'm ambitious. I literally have to remind myself. I literally had to remind myself on the way out the door. I was like, write a note for him and tell him that you love him. Because it doesn't occur to me to do that. He does it all the time. He writes little messages, is always like, reassuring me how much he thinks about me, loves me. And I literally have to pause and be like, wait, oh, that's right. What would someone who, because I'm not used to it, and it just doesn't come natural to me. I literally, I like, before I got out of bed this morning, I rolled over and I just hugged him and I was like, okay, I'm going. And he was like, I never do that. He does that to me all the time. I just get out of bed and go. So please, let there be nuance for these gender roles to shift. But also bear in mind that a lot of men are not emotionally intelligent enough, are not unpacking patriarchy enough, are not letting go of their entitlements and all the toxic masculinity crap that they are indoctrinated enough in order to do this. But that's the goal, right? That's the goal. It's just, unfortunately, very few men can handle it. I hope this makes sense. Anyway, let me know if you heard the comment song. Please follow my Patreon. Bye! Paris edition of the comment song. Notre Dame Toilette. That's all we saw because we couldn't get tickets. They're free, but they're all sold out all the time. Maybe we'll go tonight. I don't know. Anyway, this is the comment song. Comment. That's a perfect show. Looks really pretty, but that's where the police are and immigration people. Anyway, the comment song. If you're new here. This is Adrielle. She's on YouTube and TikTok. She's really cool. I'm gonna link her. She's my first in real life TikTok friend. I love her. Go check her out. Anyway, this is even a song. We ate a lot of good stuff. Got 50% off. And this is Bathrooms in France. Yeah, Little Cave Bathrooms in France. I'm singing this in the lobby of a hotel right now. It's a little embarrassing. Anyway, the comment song. Type your comment. The comment song. I'm mixing 5 different songs in this. Sorry. Look at that little piggy. They're like, hey, you're gonna eat this cute piggy and a leg, and then an ice cream cone, but it's meat. Yeah, this is Paris. Anyway, I'm trying to take time off, but I can't help myself. Anyway, this is stuff I show on my Patreon, among other things like my lives and personal content. This is me taking a Santa selfie. I think he was drunk, but it was fun. Anyway, comment song. Leave a comment song. And thank you for being here. 5 songs that didn't make you sense. That's a terrible song. Sorry. Et voila. Let me know if you heard the Paris comment song.